In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Today is the second Sunday of the Holy Lent. Last week, the Church read for us the Sunday of the Treasures, or the Gospel of the Treasures, where we keep our treasures. And how the Church pull our eyes to invest where it matters the most, in heaven. Invest in heaven. And of course, once we start doing that by focusing on prayers and fasting and the good deeds with a clean and a pure conscience, the devil is going to come and tempt us and start the war with us. Makes sense that the Church reads for us today that when Christ fasted, the devil came to tempt him. After 40 days, didn't eat anything, then the devil came to him to tempt him. So, Christ, after being baptized by John the Baptist, he went to the wilderness and fasted for 40 days. And the 40 days number has a specific meaning and very important meaning, because he was not the first one to fast 40 days. Others in the Old Testament fasted also 40 days. Who did fast 40 days? Moses, right? And who else? And Elijah, that's right. They both fasted 40 days. If Christ fasted more than 40 days, people would have started to doubt if he's a real man or real human being, or he just fasted by the power of his divinity. So he didn't want to go over what the human could do, because this was done before by humans. So he fasted for 40 days to teach us fasting. And there we go. This is what the devil tempted Jesus with. I really like this picture because it summarizes all the three temptations that the devil brought on Jesus. The first one, we see the devil holding what in his hand? That seems like what? Bread, right? So from left to right. It's in English, so read it from left to right. The devil is holding bread and presenting it, holding rocks, not bread. Holding rocks, presenting it to Christ and asking him, because he's hungry, make these rocks to become bread. If you are the Son of God, do that, because you're hungry, and nothing is better than fresh loaf of bread when you're hungry. When it's warm and fresh, nothing beats that, right? So he brought it to him. Of course, back in the days, this was considered the basic needs of food. So he brought the rocks to him and asked him to change it to, or convert it to bread. We all know the story. I just like the picture and how it summarizes the whole temptation of the gospel of temptation. But if you notice, on Christ's left hand, he is holding something. What seems to be a message from the painter that this is scrolls, the word of God, because he told him, the man does not live only by bread, but also with every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. The second one, you see Christ standing on some the edge of the temple, and then the devil is talking to him, and it seems like there is conversation between them. And in that picture, the devil is tempting Christ to throw himself, so the angel would protect him. If he is the Son of God, again, or if he is the man of God, the angels will not let anything bad happen to him. And the last side of the picture, last part of it, is Christ is standing on a high mountain, and the devil is showing him all the glory of the world and asking him, if you bow down to me, I'll give you all this to be yours. This is just a picture. I think it was kind of interesting that summarizes the whole thing. And then at the end of the picture, to the corner, the bottom right corner, you see the devil fleeing away. Christ told him, away with you, Satan. and then the angels came to serve him. Um, the second slide, I want to differentiate between temptation and trials, because sometimes we get confused between what is temptation and what is trials. Temptation for us, I'd like to take this gospel and put it, apply it to us. How is it that we can benefit from this gospel that we read? The devil came and tempted Christ, and Christ beat him, and that's a good story to tell. How does it apply to me, right? So for us, we have to differentiate between trials and temptation. And as you see on the slide, temptation is from the devil, because the purpose of temptation is to make us fall into sins. Trials are from God, and the purpose is to polish our faith, advance us, and promote our faith to a higher degree. And God also used the temptation that the devil brings on us for our own good. If we are faithful to him, he uses this war against us and make it work on our favor. In James 1st chapter, verse 13, it says, God is not tempted with evil and does not tempt any man. God does not bring temptation on anyone. In Arabic, it's a little bit confusing. تجارب. خلاص. In one word to describe both temptation and trials. In English, it's clear. There are two words of it: temptation versus trial. Either temptations or trial, they have four conditions they all follow, or four basic rules they follow. And these four conditions are either temptation or trial, or we can call it in general as difficult time that we go through. It's never above our ability to handle, never above our ability to tolerate. God is a loving God. God is a loving God. We have to keep that in mind. So even if the trial is too strong and too difficult to face, or the temptation is too difficult to face, God will not allow anything beyond our ability to tolerate. Keep that in mind. In the book of Job, you read the first chapter, it's very obvious. The devil complained about Job, and he tells him, well, he's not being righteous man for no reason. It's because you take care of him and you provide for him. But if you take all the good things that you gave to him, he will turn on you and start to cuss at you. That's the devil complaining about Job to the Lord. So the devil is the complainer. He always complains against us in front of the Lord. And Lord gave the devil allowance or a permission to tempt Job. The thing is, God controlled what the devil can do, because he told him, do this and touch his wealth and put him in a difficult time, but his soul do not touch. We have to keep that in mind. God will not allow anything beyond our ability to happen. St. Anthony the Great is another example. If we read his story, if we remember his story, God let the devil actually put him in very difficult situations, and actually the temptation kept increasing from one level to another. But one time actually the devil appeared to St. Anthony and he beat him to death. He beat him to death. Almost he died because of the devil beat him. But again, God allowed that to give St. Anthony the chance to overcome this. Because you know what? You will never know your ability unless you push your limits. You want to know if you did well in studying that unit, you must take a test. Nobody likes to take a test. But without a test, I wouldn't know if I did good or bad in that unit. So number one was that it's never beyond our ability. Number two, God provide the escape. I'm sorry, if we go back to the first slide, the number one, we will see there's a reference. back. Yani, keep going. One more. One more. One more. The verse from 1 Corinthians, but God is a faithful God who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able to. I'll read it again. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able to. That's 1 Corinthians 10:13. And the three dots refer that this is not the full verse. So it's part of a verse. And there is a reason why I took that part. We'll get to it in the next slide. So, meaning God is faithful, that it means that He is faithful to the fact that He called us His sons and daughters. Your Father will never leave you alone in a difficult time. That's His promise to you. He is faithful to that promise. So He will never allow anything beyond your ability to tolerate. He allowed Job, the righteous, to be tempted and to be trialed in his faith with a very difficult war against him, but he knew that Job was a righteous man and he can take it. Number two, He provided the escape, and that's the reason why I put just part of the verse, because this is a continuation of it. It says, "But with the temptation will also make God, will also make way of escape that you may be able to bear it." We will not be able to tolerate the difficult time if He didn't actually give us the strength, and that the escape can be a solution of the problem, can be His grace and His strength that He provides during the difficult time. The intention of the devil when he brings the difficult time on us is to break us and make us live in darkness, like what he did with Judas, the disciple, one of the 12 disciples, when he handed over Christ. He made him commit the sin. He made him focus on nothing but that sin, so he made him live in darkness. And he couldn't see anything around him but his own sin and his darkness. And that technique has been used against us for many, many generations. And unfortunately, every time, we fall under this trick. We fail to understand that around us might be really dark, but above is the light. So all what I need to do is just raise my eyes up and wait for Him to respond. If I raise my eyes up, I will see light. But around me, the plan is to keep it dark. Those who come to you, of your friends, try to give you a word of comfort during difficult time. Actually, their words of comfort will be painful. Why? Because this is the plan. We are warred against in this part. The plan is to keep it dark around us. Those who wait for comfort from humans are still in their first steps in their faith. Comfort does not come from human. Comfort comes from God. However, God can use human to send us comfort. But my goal is not to look for comfort in what people say. Our goal is to look for comfort on the messages that God sent to us. I ask Him to send me comfort during the difficult time, and He will send it. He doesn't have to send an angel or appear to me and talk to me directly. He doesn't have to do that. He can send someone with a message that I know it is from Him. The example of Job and Jonah are actually very true. They went through a difficult time where around them it was nothing but darkness. And in the case of Jonah, it was literal darkness. He couldn't see anything in the belly of the whale. It's complete darkness. But inside that darkness, he was able to see the temple of the Lord. How did he do that? First, he raised his eyes and he asked for help. He repented. Second, that's the strength of the Lord and the grace of the Lord that he sent him that help him and provide escape from the difficult time. Number three, and this is very important, all the temptation that are sent our ways, not the one that we bring on ourselves, by the way. The one we bring on ourselves are our sins, period. But the one that are sent our way, either temptation or trial, they end in our good. That's number three. They end in our favor. Example like Joseph the righteous. He was tempted by his master's wife to commit the sin with her. And he said, no, I'm not going to do this. She tried to persuade him. He didn't reason with her. He left the house and ran away. And he left his garment with her. And she then put him in jail. And then we all know the story. From jail, he come out of jail to become second man to govern, or like second man in governing Egypt. If we go to Joseph and ask him, would you prefer to go through that temptation and like would you like to live the same scenario again versus that you commit the sin and not go to jail? He will still choose the first scenario because it ended in his favor. And again, this is the message. The difficult time will end in our favor because or when we are faithful to the Lord. St. James said in his book, the first chapter, second verse, بيقول, count it all joy when you fall into various trials. Count it all joy when you fall into various trials. Why? Why should I count it joy? It doesn't make sense. Trials mean difficult time. How can I rejoice in a difficult time? Because I know it will end for my own benefit. It will end for my own good. And this is not easy. This is not easy. It takes time. If you're not able to be joyful during the difficult time, at least tell the Lord, I just cannot be happy right now. I cannot live in joy right now. Help me to see at least see the benefit. Help me to tolerate it. Send me your grace. And when I start to feel His grace, presence with me, then I will be able to rejoice. All things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to His purpose. That's Romans 8:28. كل الأشياء تعمل معا للخير. Even the bad ones, even the bad ones. So bad things can happen to me and I consider it for my own good? Yes. Because God He is in control and He controls all the difficult time and will make it end in my good. Number 4 and the last point, all the difficult time, trials or temptation, it has time in which it will end. It doesn't last forever. The good time don't last forever. The difficult time also don't last forever. So it will end. But by the time it is over, did we learn through it? That's the question. I can stand before the Lord every day and I can cry to tell Him, remove this trial, remove this difficult time. And He might respond to me, but He sent it for a reason. Do I understand why He sent it? Do I ask Him, help me to learn something from this difficult time? Because our God is not a random God. He does everything for a purpose. You can pray for Him to remove that difficult time, but then it's like you submitted a request not to take the test. Okay, well, eventually you will have to take the test. This is how it works. This is how it works. He will send a difficult time, and during the difficult time, I just need to submit and tell Him, I'm just waiting for you to help me through it. Maybe I don't understand why you sent it. I don't know why. But at least I need you to help me on how I get through it. And this is very important. When we talk to people in difficult time, going through a difficult time, sickness, financial problems, losing one of their beloveds, our job, either clergy or servants, are not to convince them with any of this. We're not to convince anyone with anything. We just talk to them and tell them this is how God works. This is how He works. This is how He takes care of us. And it's up to them. And that we are praying for them. It's up to them to take what we say or not take it. Because sometimes, in the book of Job, his friends tried really hard to convince him with something to comfort him, and that was actually coming with a very opposite results. So our duty is to focus on the loving hand of the Lord, that He sent nothing but good, and let the people take time who are going through a difficult time. Let them take their time to digest that. Sometimes you just need some time. One more thing. The last point is that we agreed that God always remove the difficult time, and it has a time that it will end. When it's time to end, it will end. However, I don't want you to mix between temptation or trials and crosses. Cross is a personal choice. The cross is a personal choice. Fasting is a cross, is not a trial. Prayer is a cross, is not a trial. Okay? Sickness is not a cross. Sickness is trial, is a difficult time. But if we were to accept the difficult time like sickness, like St. Paul did, and accept the disease that was sent on him, it can turn the trial into a cross. You like this one? A difficult wife or a difficult husband is not a cross until you accept the situation. It's a difficult time, and it's not going to end. All right? So unless you accept it, then you're not taking the blessing of it. You're not taking the blessing of it. Once we submit and accept the situation and tell the Lord, I am yours, do whatever, and I will submit my life to you, then that turns the trial to a cross that I accept happily. Pray for one another for patience, because during trials we need patience. Pray for one another for faithfulness, because during trials or during temptation or during sickness or even during carrying the cross, we need wisdom, and we need patience, and we need perseverance to continue doing what we're doing. May God give us the blessings of the trials always. To Him is glory forever and ever. Amen.